live from New Orleans. It's the show that has been consuming a decent amount of turtle soup.
Oh, yeah.
Special Super Bowl edition of First Things First. How's that been?
It's been outstanding. It's a delicacy. Snapping
true.
turtle soup. I've had it every night.
Every night.
Drew, you're from
I've
here?
never had turtle soup.
You know what? I don't think
And
he's
I
from
never
here
planned
anymore.
to have turtle
It's
soup.
great. I'm not sure you're from here. You claim
I
to
am
be?
definitely from here.
Shell, too? They cook up the shell?
No, you don't.
Turtle soup.
Can I say something? Because Drew will back me up on this. Wilds didn't realize, I don't think, that for this show we weren't going to have a studio audience. And I think this side of the table is a little thrown off by it. You're out here interrogating about the turtle
What was the
soup.
first thing you live?
Yeah, you said live. It was
weird. Kind of dead.
You're also mad at Drew because of something he did earlier. Everything's a little off.
It rocked, though. It was a hit. It was an immediate hit.
I played the role of the Washington Generals.
No!
So Brew could run one of the weave and then dunk on me, and everybody cheered, and my paycheck cleared. Afterwards, we start with a Super Bowl rematch in their last Super Bowl matchup. Jalen Hurts, one passing touchdown to A.J. Brown, one turnover, 3 touchdowns on the ground. Here's how their numbers lined up. Patrick Mahomes, 226 yards, not a ton of yards, but passer rating almost near perfect, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. So, Nick, we'll start with you. What are the chances that Jalen Hurts outplays Mahomes?
I think almost 0%, because I expect Patrick Mahomes Sunday to do what people of his caliber do, which is legendary guys, when they are in a legendary moment, meet the moment. And so this is actually not even a commentary on if I think Jalen Hurts is going to play average, above average, very well even. I think he would have to play better than he played in the first Super Bowl to outplay Patrick on Sunday, because I think Patrick Mahomes knows he is walking into a game with an opportunity that almost assuredly he'll never have again. Like, the odds of for the Chiefs to have another chance at three-peating if they lose on Sunday, every single, I mean, it's obvious what has to happen. You have to win a Super Bowl, win another Super Bowl, and then get back to it, which had never been done. And so I expect him to more than meet the moment. And the fact that the Eagles have the #1 pass defense, to me, is not that relevant, because we have seen Patrick 3 times in the playoffs against teams with the #1 pass defense, and they've scored 37 points per game in those games. So I think it'll be almost impossible for Hurts to outplay.
Look, I agree with you on Mahomes. I'm expecting him to have a great game. I think beyond what you said, the legends rising to the occasion, he's always risen to the occasion. Even this year, when he's had a down year by his standards individually, in the fourth quarters, he's been great. When they've needed to pull out almost all their victories, he's done it late. And he's played really well in these playoffs. He's done what he's had to do. And so I do believe he'll rise to the occasion and be great. I think that Philadelphia defense, as great as it looks statistically, and it is a legitimately great defense, but they can be vulnerable to the pass. I thought Jaden Daniels, they got blown out, but he moved the ball well, and then they'd fumble. His receivers would fumble. Stafford threw for over 300 yards. Jaden threw just a couple months ago, if that, in the regular season, late game, he threw for 5 touchdowns. So I think they can be thrown when they got the 2 rookies in the defensive backfield. So that's my answer as well. I think Mahomes will be so good that Hurts won't outplay him. But I also think Nick's Hurts will be good, too, because I'm expecting a shootout. Now, I think Hurts I think he'll be good through the air, but I think he'll probably score most of his touchdowns on the ground. Now, some of it might be tush-push, but in the Super Bowl, he threw for over 300 yards, but he's ran for 3 touchdowns and threw for 1. When they beat the Chiefs a couple years ago in the regular season, or last year, right? He ran for 2 touchdowns. Didn't even throw the ball that well.
No, had a pretty poor passing.
Yeah, it was on the ground. And so I think he'll throw it fine, but I think he could have 2 touchdowns with his legs, and that'll be good for Philly. I just think Mahomes will be better.
One thing to your point about legendary players do legendary stuff. there's a clip, and I didn't pull it, but there's a clip from last year's Super Bowl where Mahomes is mic'd up, and it's him and Chris Jones. And remember, Chris Jones had his contract in flux. And Patrick said two things that I thought were interesting. One, you're not going anywhere. So he already had his mindset on.
This is from after the Super Bowl, like
confetti falling.
Yes.
And then he says, I want 3. Correct. No one's ever. So the amount of focus and goal setting where immediately the confetti's literally coming down to be focused on 3 makes me think that he is just ready for this moment. And the final thing, because I'm a Mahomes guy, I'm also a vibes guy. And we think that we've seen Mahomes be pretty much perfect in the media. Like, he's very nuanced and smart the way he handles it. No bulletin board material. They asked him, and I told you this in the car, so I'll get Bruce's reaction. They said, hey, did you know Lionel Messi is coming to the game? And I don't think he knew it. And his reaction just immediately, I don't think it went through, like, his filter. He said, he's like, it will be great for me to be able to showcase what I can do in front of Messi. Wow. He's a GOAT. And it struck me as, it certainly is not bulletin board material, but it struck me as like, oh, good, Messi's going to be there? Fellow GOAT? Yeah, fellow, legendary player? And
he wouldn't have said that at a press conference.
No, I don't think so. So it registered for me that I think he is ready for this huge moment.
Look, I also think it benefits Mahomes that Brady's out there with the 7 championships, because we've seen Emmitt Smith was just on Speak talking about it, and we've seen other legends talk about how they couldn't get to a 3rd Super Bowl after you win back-to-back. I've talked to NBA players and teams about it, and it's tough getting through that next season after you've won a championship because it's really all about the playoffs for you. I think one thing that helps Mahomes and through him, the team, get through this season and be ready for this moment is Brady's out there with 7. And he's like, man, I still got a long way to go.
I think something that helps him Sunday is that Brady's in the booth. I mean, like, I truly believe that. In that there were moments, and listen, Tom and Patrick's relationship is very different than LeBron and Michael's.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say LeBron and Michael have never had a great relationship. I'm not going to say it's terrible, but there was never the warm embrace. Tom, to his credit, has everything we've seen with Patrick, seems to be rooting for him. And Patrick speaks of Tom in the highest regard possible.
Brady definitely wants him to get about 4.
But he also was asked this week, he being Patrick, what's the one game you still think about? And I would have thought his answer would have been the AFC Championship game against Joe Burrow that they lost. Because that was the one time in his 20 career playoff games where you can truly say, man, if he played better, they'd have won. That's the only one. Like the first loss to Brady, Mahomes played an almost perfect game, never got one overtime. The Super Bowl loss to Brady, it was 31-9. He felt like he was under almost assault the whole time. But he did not say that. He said, that's a very easy question, the Super Bowl that we lost. So he lost it to Tom. He has said forever, he almost feels like, he said, I think a year ago, it's going to be hard for me to ever call myself the GOAT when Tom beat me twice in the playoffs. And now, and the reason I brought up the LeBron Michael stuff, I kind of lost my train of thought, I apologize. We saw moments for LeBron when Michael owned the Hornets, when he was in attendance, and it seemed like, LeBron is,
right.
You know what I mean, kind of hitting an extra gear. Now, that's a regular season game against the Hornets as opposed to Super Bowl when you're going to be peak anyway. But for a psychopathic competitor, an athlete, in this moment that he has been thinking about for a calendar year, to be right there and to be doing it with the guy you're chasing on the call, I just again, maybe I'm being too optimistic. I just think we are going to get a start to finish laser, the type of focus Mahomes has on those drives down 4 in the 4th quarter. I think we could see that from the opening kickoff of this game.
Just for the flip side, because we're complimenting Mahomes' competitive laser focus, I'm not sure Jalen Hurts has publicly laughed or smiled
Yeah.
since the last Super Bowl loss. Like, he is also totally locked in. We had that old photo that he had the lock screen on his phone last time he lost the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts in huge games, no slouch. I mean, if you take the championship games and the last Super Bowl, 40 points. He's completing 68% of his passes. Passer rating around 97. 7 rush total 9 touchdowns, and only 1 giveaway, which was in the Super Bowl. So, Brew, do you think that I know Jalen is kind of feels like he's taking a secondary position to Mahomes, but do you think that he has a similar laser focus?
Oh, yeah. Like, I think Jalen is a winner. I think everybody feels like he's a winner, and yet he hasn't won, like, a big championship game at the collegiate or pro level. He won the championship in Alabama, but he got benched for Tua, and Tua really was the hero. And he's been close, and then obviously in the NFL, he's been close. So I think this game would solidify him. Like, it's not just everybody feeling it and saying it because of the way he behaves and stuff. It would actually be like, yeah, this dude, say what you want about him, say he's not Joe Burrow throwing the football, but he is a winner. And I think he feels that way because the whole season, or at least since A.J. Brown kind of called him out for not throwing the football, it's been about Jalen's holding them back. Can Jalen be good enough? And I'm sure that eats at him. And so
that
this
also
would put all of that to bed.
It would put all that to bed. It also puts, if he does, the flip side to your stat of he broke Mahomes' record and has an active streak now of 7 straight playoff games without an interception. The flip side to that is if he were to make a mistake early, similar to last year's Super Bowl, when the questions have been, you know what I mean, are you the weak link? And he hasn't thrown a pick, you know, in 7 playoff games. What impact that has on his psyche in that football game. As opposed to, I think what we all agree on is this. If Patrick makes a mistake early, he will, while the ball is in the air, be doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, next play. And I just...
An interception would be weird, though.
I know that would be weird. But, you know...
We got plenty of time.
You better not go tackle the guy.
But I just think the one thing the Chiefs have said, Kelsey, when he's asked about being the GOAT, Mahomes on any of this stuff, all they've ever said is team.
Yeah.
Like, Patrick knows we win this football game. I was the leader of the greatest team in NFL history. Not necessarily this season, but this team will be remembered as the greatest dynasty in NFL history, and that I think is more motivational, if you will, than anything Jalen can have because they're almost playing for different stakes.
Moving on to NFL honors, Josh Allen is your new NFL MVP. Looks like voters split their votes since Lamar was first-team All-Pro. And we thought that was going to be an early preview of the MVP award. Not the case. Josh took it home. Here's how their numbers lined up in the regular season. We took out Josh Allen's Week 18 game against the Patriots, which the Bills, unfortunately, were trying to lose, and we were victorious. But he only took 1 snap to keep his consecutive games starting streak going. So, Brew, do you think the voters got this right or wrong?
Look, you guys know on Brew's ballot that we did all year, I ended up having Lamar as the MVP. And I said, though, I will not kill Josh Allen or the voters if Josh wins the MVP. Because he has, I mean, in most seasons, you will have a few guys that have MVP-like seasons. Last year was odd, and Lamar won it with far lesser numbers than this year because it wasn't one of those years where it was a lot of great MVP candidates. But Josh was fantastic, and he deserves it. I think Lamar should have gotten it, but I think that the voters, and I'm a voter for the NBA award, so I understand it. History comes into play. You know what? Lamar's won 2. He's the only player to win 2 or more MVPs and never win a championship. He's never even been to the Super Bowl. So that can work against you. I feel honestly, too, like Lamar, and I haven't talked to him or anything about this. I haven't even heard him say anything about it. I honestly felt like he probably didn't care about the MVP award. We all like accolades and stuff.
I'll give you another one. Relief?
That's what I was going to ask. I wanted to actually pivot it because I said I would have voted for Josh. But like Brew, just kind of the opposite. If Lamar had won, I wasn't going to be like, this is an outrage. Do you think it's good for Lamar he did not win? Because so most people it would be like, no, because this is how you get in the Hall of Fame.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
But he's in the Hall of Fame. You have 2 MVPs, you're in the Hall of Fame. Like, and so I actually think for Lamar, and I know he's locked in, and I know he tries not to listen to the outside noise, send a few mean tweets with my nose, but aside from that, I don't think he sees other stuff. I think, man, hearing all regular season next year, 3-time MVP, back-to-back, back-to-back MVP without making a Super Bowl, all of that. Oh, yeah. I do feel like now that kind of shifts to Josh a little. Like that, you know what I mean? Now Josh is the reigning MVP. Yeah. Neither, Josh also hasn't been to a Super Bowl. So I think, Brew, it's good for Lamar that he did not win.
No, I agree. And I do think, look, and obviously Lamar, I'm a Lamar guy. He hears it. Yes. When he's talked about getting antsy at times, and I think he's clearly getting over that if he hasn't just flat out gotten over it, because he was good in these playoff games. He made some mistakes, obviously, against Buffalo, but he played well outside of that. So I think he's gotten over that. But the fact that you even felt that way, usually that's from external forces of, people are saying this, people are saying that. And so I do think he hears it. And look, without the MVP, the pressure every single year on him is going to ratchet up. Like, when you're going to win it, same as Luka, any of these all-time greats in their sport, when are you going to win it? You got 2 MVPs. When are you going to win it? It's going to increase. But had he won this one, 3 now, it really would have been even louder. So I agree. I think it's better for him that he didn't win it.
7 years, last 7 MVPs. Josh now has 1. Lamar's got 2. Patrick's got 2. Aaron's got 2.
Yeah.
Josh and Lamar are tied odds for next year. Yeah. Who do you think this? We felt like there was some Lamar fatigue. We felt like Patrick was a little bit disrespected. Who do you like? How do you think this Josh getting the award plays out for next year?
I think the voters have made it clear. Whoever loses to Mahomes in the AFC Championship game gets to be that year's MVP. 3 years ago, Mahomes won the Super Bowl. He's MVP. 2 years ago, Lamar lost in the AFC Championship game. He was the MVP. This year, Josh. So maybe Joe Burrow. I don't know. I do think that it feels to me more accurate to their careers that the Lamar-Josh MVP count is 2-1 than 3-0. Yeah. That, to me, you know what I mean? Like, that feel like Lamar has been a better regular season player than Josh, but it doesn't feel like it should be that level, that gulf.
Or that he should have more than Mahomes.
Which he would. That's what I was saying. If Mahomes wins, it feels like how you do your MVPs where, like, this person's far behind and the MVP. It feels like Mahomes would start with a 20-yard head start. If he wins the
Super Bowl?
Yes.
Well, look, I think all of it, or at least Nick and I for sure, picked Mahomes as our preseason MVP.
Yes.
Right now, I mean, we'll see what happens months from now, but I would lean toward looking at Mahomes for next year. Win or lose this game. Like, win or lose this game, I just think that he was overlooked clearly for individual awards. He didn't even make the Pro Bowl. And I get it. The numbers weren't great. I don't think he should have been in the MVP conversation. If you want to put him as 5th or whatever, that's fine. But as a competitor like he is, I'm sure that gnaws at him. Now, he can win the Super Bowl, and that'll put it all to rest. But still, he is a fantastic individual player that it's not just winning. It's how he's done it. It's his arm. It's all the talent that he has. So I think next year, it's time for him to win another one.
So, and I also think you saw at the moment they had even part of the receiving core they expected to have this year, starting week 15 this year. His numbers got weight, you know what I mean? It was like, oh, those are MVP caliber numbers, the 3 touchdown games, 300 yards, those things. So if you assume they're going to have the receiving core they want next year, that Rashee Rice isn't going to be suspended for, half the season or something, I think that should help him a lot. I also think that here's the thing. I thought this was going to happen after last year. I thought that, given the fact that Mahomes did what he did in the playoffs last year, that if you'd have told me this going into the year, hey, here's the deal. The Chiefs are going to be 15-1 with Patrick starting. they're going to have both of their top running backs hurt, 3 of their top receivers hurt, play 4 different left tackles. His numbers are going to be actually oddly mediocre, but he's going to lead the league in fourth quarter comebacks, set a record for game-winning drives. And, you know, do you think he'll win MVP? I think I would have said yes. If you were to ask me, do you think he'll be at least one of the top candidates, I would have said obviously, unquestionably. Yeah. The fact that this year happened, his numbers weren't like bad numbers. They were, you know what I mean, substandard for an MVP or for him. And that he got 0 first or second place votes. He got, I think, 2 third place votes and then a handful of fourth and fifth place votes is shocking. And given the fact that the voters told us by picking Josh over Lamar, and there it is, that by picking Josh over Lamar, they were valuing winning and what type of supporting cast did you have?
That's a good point.
Like the voters said it wasn't a stats award or else Lamar would have won it. So it was, to me, so I do think Josh being the one guy to beat Patrick carried a lot of weight in this. And I don't know how much the voters are going to have a consistency when it comes to Patrick.
I don't think it was a shiny moment for the voters. Just because, I mean, Lamar's first-team All-Pro, but Josh is the MVP. I know it's happened 3 times, I think, before Elway and a couple of Steve McNair. But that doesn't make sense, especially when the voters are the same people.